Hi guys, it's Edie's here and welcome back to my channel. If you are confused about what the heck to do on the first day of school, this is going to be the video for you. I'm going into my 7th year of teaching here in New York City, and I have been teaching 4th grade for 4 years. So these are my lesson plans. These are the lessons that I'm actually going to be doing, or that I plan to do on the first day of school. The first day of school, I have pretty much two goals. The first one is to get the students excited about 4th grade, myself, my class, the community, and get them to come or want to come back to school the next day. And the second thing, I want students to be introduced to the expectations of the year. So I want to set the stage, set the mood for the year moving forward, and I want them to get excited for 4th grade. So these are my actual lesson plans that I'll be using this year. I've been using this kind of setup since I was a 1st grade teacher, which was about 5 years ago. So please let me know if you have any other ideas or what you think is helpful. Let's get started. So in my school, we have something called collaborative beginnings, which essentially means having a slow start to school. We begin the day with yoga, then we journal, and then we have a classroom meeting in which we answer a question and really do restorative practice. But on the first day of school, it's a little bit different because we meet students outside, where normally I greet students in the morning and they kind of wait for me outside. In this case, on the first day of school, I am waiting for them outside, which is definitely a little bit different. So what I like to do, or what I've done before, I've just played like relaxing music and just had them pick their seats. This year, I want to be a little bit more strategic, so I'm having them create name tents because I want them to get used to the do now component, or the slow start of my mornings. So I'm going to give them 10 minutes to create an All About Me tent. So I got this template, it's linked here. I like to have live links or clickable links so that I can print it very easily. But I got this from Long Wing Learning. I don't remember if it was free or not, but it's a name tent paper template for back to school. So what I'm going to most likely do is have like a basket or a cup that has a marker or a couple markers, and students will fill out this name tent. So it says, write one goal you want to accomplish, write 2 subjects to write 3 words to describe you, 4, write 4 activities you like to do in your free time, and then write your name, and then at the bottom, draw a picture. I'm not going to give them access to crayons. I'm not a big fan of crayons, but I will give them one color marker, and they will finish that within the 10 minutes, and that gives me some time to put on some relaxing music, get the students settled in at their desks, and give them that feel of what their do now could be. One thing that I also like to do on the first day of school, make sure that my flow of the day resembles the schedule for the rest of the year. So if this time in the morning when the kids come in, they're supposed to be doing something, in this case the do now, I want them to do something that relates to the do now. Obviously in the beginning of the year, we don't really have a lot of content that we're teaching mostly structures and routines, but I still want them to have the flow of math, reading, writing, science, social studies, so that they know what to expect. So that's what we're going to be doing for the do now, and then probably on the second day I'll have them like read or something, because that's what I normally do in the mornings as well. Then to call them back, I want to teach them the silent signal or the quiet signal. I have 2 this year. I have the doorbell, and I use like a classic stop, look, and listen. So I'll introduce them to both because sometimes I prefer one over the other. I like to have, various callbacks. You will see that some of these things are color-coded, and purple means that it's a new expectations that I'm introducing this year. White or yellow is that it's important, extremely important. Like if I don't need to do anything else, I don't have time to do the other things, these are the priorities. Red is that it's missing a link or missing some information there, and then the green is that it was new or added by one of my teammates. So the next thing, I'm going to introduce and welcome my students into the classroom. I'm going to have each student introduce themselves and say their favorite food. And then we're going to play an activity called Who Remembers. So students who remember each other's name and favorite food will, you know, get a clap from me and maybe like a sticker or something like that. It's just a little group activity. Then I'm going to have students take out their notebook or take out a notebook and have extra notebooks available or loose leaf for the students that may not have brought their supplies. And we're going to label our journals, and I'm going to give them wheel of emotion, and then we're going to um, discuss the importance of journaling in yoga, have students do the seated yoga and journal, um, and take attendance. Then we're going to ask the question of the day, which is, what do you want us to know about you? And then we're going to introduce the flow of the day, which is another word for schedule, talk about arrivals and dismissal. We're going to practice the 2 lines outside of the classroom like I would expect them in the morning, because the next day, day 2, they are going to be expected to wait for me outside, where on the first day, it's a little bit different. We're going to practice what the line should look like outside in the classroom in the morning, and then I'm going to greet them because I have a greeting chart outside. After, I'm going to do my favorite part of the day. That's why it's highlighted super important, because we co-construct the classroom agreements or classroom rules. And I begin by asking them, what are your hopes and dreams in 4th grade? I kind of do like a meditation of somewhat. And I have them envision what their like dream 4th grade or dream classroom looks like, sound like, feel like, things like that. And then we write rules and I can statements. I can get ready to learn by doing yoga. I can be kind to others. And then from those statements, I'm going to do something new this year, coded purple for new expectation, which is I want to make a mission statement for the classroom. So it would sound something like this. In class 402, all students will, and I already kind of have a vision of it already, like all students will learn no matter their circumstances, or all students will be kind to one another while creating a safe community where everyone can learn, something like that. But I cannot wait, because I really envision my agreement chart to have the vision statement or the mission statement at the top and then the agreements at the bottom. One tip is, don't write the I can't statements on like chart paper yet. I recommend to write it on a dry erase board, and then during your prep or after school, write it on a chart paper so that it can look fancier. That's just a personal preference. The next thing that I have is the more boring part. I do like to do like a back to school sandwich or a fun sandwich, which is like expectations, fun, expectations, fun. So this is the expectation part, because I mean, I consider the class agreements fun, but maybe not. But yes, we're going to unpack here. So the students are going to unpack. I'm going to teach them and model, because I have to physically model. Even if they're in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, I would still physically model myself how to check in with the attendance board, take everything out from their backpacks. They'll get a chance to do that after the like morning arrival model. Take out water, snacks, lunchbox, and black folders, and then I would like have that in my backpack and model me doing it and what I look like and sound like and what it feels like. Take out the important papers and put them in my teacher's mailbox, so like actually physically showing them. Then I'm like going to be very dramatic and look at the do now to see what it's asking me. And then I'm going to have them try it out. So they're going to unpack their school bags and school supplies. They're going to keep their folders, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and black folders in their desks, or inside their desks, and 2 notebooks, one for reading and one for journaling, which we already set up. And then I have like labels clicked here. These are the labels that I use. It's from, where is it from? I don't even know. Cupcake 2017, and they're just all different labels for all the subject areas, so that's what I use to label them. I'm going to show them the black folder procedure, so they're going to take it out before lunch and put important papers. Like, as you can see, these are all procedures, unpacking, etc. I'm going to introduce student numbers, so I have student numbers to hang out backpacks and to put away like things, so introduce that. They're going to put their backpacks. I'm going to call them by table, or I call them pods. I'm going to talk about the closet procedures and sink, so they should not access these at all throughout the day. I'm going to introduce breakfast and what happens with latecomers. So essentially, if they are late, they are allowed to go get breakfast, and then they have up till the end of the collaborative beginning morning routine time to eat, and they're not coming in to unpack. They actually come in to do yoga and journaling. After yoga and journaling, they can unpack quietly, and then they're going to put their supplies away. I usually have bins in the back of my classroom, which is something that I could set up while they're filling out their name tents, in which I will call them pod by pod or number by number so that we can practice it, and they will put their markers where they need to be. They will put their their notebooks if they have extra. So I have all of that routine set up. And then we're going to talk about desk and seat stack organization. We're going to talk about that. And then I have an anchor chart that shows what like a organized desk looks like. And then we're going to do something fun now. We're going to read a letter from your teacher on the first day of school. There is an activity, so I might put here, see we're adding activity. Related to this. Then, after doing that fun activity, then we're going to go into our classroom procedures. Again, these are not the same procedures that are related to unpacking, but these are overall. So I'm going to give them a classroom tour. We're going to talk about voice levels, hand signals, lineup procedures, and they're actually going to practice them in the hallways. Very quick though. We're going to have an introduction to the reward system. Treasure chest, I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing that this year, but I'm still making up my mind. Bathroom procedures, which is 2 times a day, bathroom sign-out and passes, and introduce them to that. Behavior plans and steps. So we have a 3-step system. I'm really reinforcing that this year, which is warning, dojo, meeting. So warning is, hey, I talked to you about it, don't do that, or please don't continue to do those, or whatever the case, the behavior that you see. Then it will be a dojo message to the parent, and then it will be a meeting, just so I could be a little bit more explicit and consistent with my classroom management. And incomplete work means that you miss recess. We're going to be talking about coming up to the teacher, dress code, norms, so no hoods, no hats, no fanny packs, purses, toys, and uniforms must be worn. We're going to practice with drills like fire drills, lockdown, and severe weather. This is really important because usually on the first week of school, at least in my school, we do have a fire drill or a lockdown. So it's important that I set up my students for success when that does happen, because it is going to happen, and it happens every month or so. And then I'm going to talk quickly about cell phones, which really hasn't been really a problem for me, but it's important to, like I said, set the tone. So, and then I have a checklist. So as I introduce that, I'll have my computer or my iPad on the side and check it off, because I'm not probably going to get to all these things. These are just wishful thinking. If I don't get to it, I introduce it the next day. We're going to talk about eating and drinking in the classroom. There only should be eating during snack time, and the water bottle should be at the side of their desk or on their desk. We're going to talk about academic expectations, striving for excellence, and having high expectations. I talk about out of the classroom expectations. This is very important, which is, when I pick them up from recess or when they go to lunch from the office, they should behave in the same manner that they do outside of the classroom. Then this is like the regular schedule. So I have all of it listed, and it's pretty much the same idea. So we introduce the subject, talking about why it's important and what we're going to be learning, and then we take out the materials and label them. So this is quick. Word study, take out the material, red folder, add label. Might not get to it today, but just so that they know what the materials look like. We're going to briefly talk about stations, so just tell them there's going to be stations at this time, and then there's details the next day. It doesn't always have to be so much detail on the first day, because it could be overwhelming. But this is the next fun part, which is we have snack time. So because students may not be used to snack time, I do have snack for them the first week, and sometimes actually the first month. I just buy like a big pack from Costco or something, and I just send a message out to parents saying, like, hey, we have snack time, you know, bring snack for your students if you can. If not, we'll have something for them. So yeah, we read The One and Only Ivan on the first day. We have snack time for 10 minutes, and this is the time that I introduce snack and lunch boxes expectations, and cleanup procedures. So it's really awesome, and emphasize the importance of transitions. That has to be quick. You only have 10 minutes. We go into math. We talk about, blue folders, label those, tour of the math area, explore the math workbooks, and introduce them to the communal clipboards, markers, and erasers, and emphasize taking care of these materials. Same thing for writing, tour of the writing area. We introduce the heading and the yellow folder, and we do like a red and green sticker for like finished, not finished. Reading, the same idea, green folder and notebook. We have the labels, we tour the reading area, and then before kind of going into the lesson about like the introduction to reading, I have students just pick out a quick interest book so that we could practice building stamina through silent reading. Visionary hour is something that I like created in my classroom. It's essentially a merge of science and social studies through a project-based lens. So it's the same idea of students taking out their folders. I take this time to take pictures of the students so I can do my future world leaders or changers display. We talk about, because the students are going to be using like markers and stuff, this is a perfect segue to show them how to organize and put away materials like markers and pencils and things like that. And I usually like to introduce some of the routines naturally as they come up, like this, but sometimes it has to be explicit. Because visionary hour, like the lessons don't really start till the second week of school, I usually like to do for the first couple of days like a fun activity. So I found this one on Teachers Pay Teachers, which is called Life Stickers. So it says, on the water bottle, draw 4 stickers that represent who you are. Next to the bottle, explain what each sticker means. So I thought I would have like an example of that, or show them a quick example under the document camera. And then this is where I would give them a sticker to kind of put on their water bottle from my teacher sticker store. So I thought that was cute. And then they'll go to lunch. Right before lunch, though, we'll talk about cafeteria and recess norms. We line up before we get there, and we'll practice that several times. Like, okay, this is what you should look like when I come pick you up. This is how we exit our classroom into the cafeteria or recess. And I like to do this several times because it's important for them to know that, it is a really important expectation. Prep or specials, we introduce them to the expectations that the other teachers should be treated with respect. They should act the same way that they do in the classroom, outside of the classroom, which is, continue to represent our agreement in our classroom community. This is very big this year because my students last year had such a tough time. During quiet time, we're going to introduce them to quiet time and why we do quiet time, give them Play-Doh, and they get to pick from, a bunch of sources, like options like reading, Play-Doh, taking a nap. In 5 minutes, they get to do that and be able to kind of just calm down their brains and bodies after lunch and recess. Then I'm going to talk about packing up, which is take-home folders, what that expectation looks like, and then ask students how they're going to get home. After, ask them the question of the night. That's what I call it, so let me change that. And it's, what are you looking forward to in school tomorrow? Kind of talk around the classroom and discuss like what we're excited about in 4th grade. For dismissal, we practice lining up, and then I will dismiss and make sure that they don't forget their folders, which is mostly important because it has all like the meet the teacher papers and things like that, and like the blue cards and stuff. And then lastly, I have a list of things I need to do after school. So after school, I like to organize supplies further, rearrange desks as needed, I like to dojo the meet the teachers to parents and introduce myself formally, and set up the classroom. I like to share a student questionnaire on Dojo with parents to learn more about their child. Like, is there something that they want them to learn, or is there a struggle that they've had in previous years? So I just get to know them, and parents love the questionnaire because they can see that the teacher cares about them as people and not just as students. And then I usually like to send like a positive note, like, oh, I really loved having your child in my class. Like, they were lovely today and they told me about this, and I'm excited to get to know them. And usually that gives some buy-in to the parents, and they get really happy and excited, and they it sets really a tone of communication, open communication, and collaboration with me and the parents and the families. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I know that was pretty fast, although that was 23 minutes because it's very packed, like, schedule. Like I said, I don't know, and I'll be honest, like, I don't get to all of this, but I like to plan more. It's better to have more than less because when you don't have anything to do, that's when behaviors start showing up. I have a second day of fourth grade plan already as well. If you would like me to talk more about that, let me know. But basically, just to reiterate, I like to just have buy-in from the students that they want to come back tomorrow and they're excited and they think that fourth grade will be the best year because it will be. And of course, I want to teach as many expectations or routines as possible without getting them too overwhelmed.